Okay, this is the summary video for housing Sec2, the topic of housing. If you zoom in, you will see this is the complete summary for the topic. Let's start by taking a look at what is housing shortage. Okay, for this component here, we will start by looking at the definition and examples of slums and squatter settlements, how insufficient basic services are a key and anchor of slums and squatter services settlements. We will also be looking at homeless people and how traditional housing is unaffordable, so as a result you have housing shortage in these areas. For this section of the unit, you need very clearly to be able to give me clear examples of places where you find slums or squatter settlements, as well as definitions of what is a slum, what will you define as a homeless person, and at what extent would housing be considered unaffordable for the people. Next up, we'll be looking at the consequences of housing shortage, of what happens to a country when you have many slums, what happens to the people who are living in slums. Okay, for this part, you're looking at three main areas: environmental pollution, low level of health, and lastly, vulnerability of these people. For environmental pollution, focus on the part where you learn about how waste material is not properly disposed in slums. The Kibera example of the flying toilet is a very useful example to bring up if you are questioned about this area. For low level of health, think about the type of hygiene conditions that exist within the slums, as well as the amount of healthcare or the lack of healthcare that's available in the slums. For vulnerability, mention how the structure of a slum tends to be cramped, compact, and how this actually affects the ability of the police to enforce safety and security within the slum areas, as well as also highlight how this may lead to accidents happening, things like fires. You may also want to bring in the example where the fire in Kibera, as a result of the fire in Kibera and the slum, how as a result of the slum's condition, the fire engine could not make it to the fire, and so a large amount of the slum area was burnt off as a result. The next section that we'll be looking at is cities that face shortage of housing and why is it so. So for cities that actually face the shortage, you need to be able to tell us exact locations, which countries, if you can, which is the name of the slum or the township that the slum exists. Provide case studies, go and study your case studies. So far you have had one in Rio, one in Kibera in Nigeria, so these are important. As for the 5 main reasons for cities to face housing shortage, you need to be able to explain all 5 of them: rapid population growth, migration, which is mainly rural to urban migration in search for jobs, for better employment opportunities, for education, high birth rates in developing countries, limited land supply, as well as competing land use. As a result, people are being pushed away from their original locations into cities. Now, for strategies employed to manage housing shortage, there are 2 main ways that governments go about doing it. We've learned about slum upgrading as well as providing public housing for the people. So when you talk about self-help slum upgrading, there's the opposite, which is the fully funded government slum upgrading programs. Please provide examples of these. Key reference points like landmark locations is important. For public housing provision, use the Singapore case study. So you can list out things that you see around you in the HDB flats, how it has actually helped Singapore eradicate largely housing shortage. And refer back, please remember the spelling of the names and of the examples that you want to give is very important. So for inclusive housing, there are 3 areas that you need to focus on: affordable housing, facilities and amenities for all, as well as strong sense of belonging. So think about for example, strong sense of belonging. What are the anchor items within the estate that gives them an identity, a uniqueness? Things like your dragon playground. And for the other 2, consider what we wrote for our GI project. How does your estate have facilities and amenities for all? Okay, this is just a guide, so this is basically what needs to be covered for the topic of housing. Now for mid-year, as you all know, there will be the basic map reading skills as well as housing. So use your notes, your textbook in association with this mind map, and you should be pretty safe for the exam. So thank you very much. Good luck for your exams.